Hello, everybody, and welcome
Welcome.
to Lore Lords, Episode 5.
Episode 5.
That's right, everybody. It's Tommy Two Tits here to announce Pat and Atlas are back in the house, here to stream some more Lore Lords. Today, they're talking about the brand new show, Squid Game. I mean, come on.
That's not what we're talking about today.
What? Why the fuck not? Are you watching it?
Yeah, I've watched it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
It's really good. I actually really liked it.
Yeah, see? Atlas gets it.
No, I am agreeing with you. I'm just saying that's not what we're talking about today.
You fucking idiot. You guys are dumb. Why not? What are you talking about?
We're talking about John Mayer.
Who?
John Mayer.
You know the guitar boy?
No. All right, well, I'm going to go watch the last episode because, man, what a fucking ride. That Glass episode, holy shit. All right, see you guys.
Ugh.
Thanks, Tommy.
The needle and the cookie, though? Oh, my goodness. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Lore Lords.
Yes, that's
Episode
right. Lore Lords.
5.
We're here already, Episode 5. And yes, we're talking about Mr. John Myers.
John Myers of Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Exactly. And how Oscar Mayer Wiener, the lore of Oscar Mayer. No, we're talking about John Mayer, the singer, songwriter, guitar player, and musician. Why? Because I fucking love him. And that's basically it. But a quick, brief history on why I love him, though, is I always, growing up, I listened to a lot of classic rock. I listened to a lot of like AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, and I discovered like Linkin Park and Disturbed and Fall Out Boy and Green Day and then like Avenged Sevenfold, and I listened to a lot of like hard rock, metal, classic rock, that kind of stuff. And there was such a particular way a lot of those guitar players play. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but as I started learning, that's what I learned too. And one day I heard John Mayer's cover of Free Falling sometime in 2008, I believe it was. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And the way this guitar is being played is amazing. And I want to learn how to do that. So that's basically what I got, and that's how I kind of got into him. And because I always thought that John Mayer, and this is the common problem with people who oftentimes think about him, is I thought he was the antithesis or the culmination of songs like Your Body is a Wonderland or Daughters. And I was like, well, that's cute, but I don't care. And that's what I thought he was, because that's what he was advertised as, and we'll get into that because that's actually part of it. But in order to understand why I got into him, that was, like I said, I got into him around 2008, 2009, which is actually pretty late because his music career really started in 2001 when he came out with his first main record, Room for Squares. Now, if you guys are listening along right now and are part of the Paperball Discord, you can find a handy-dandy little chart that actually that I came up with. It has 3 to 4 songs per record that I put for if you're trying to get in, if you're going to listen along to some of these songs, you can pick 1 song per record and check it out. And listen in while you listen to me talk about it. But anyway, so his first record was Room for Squares, and there was a single that came out before a song called Your Body is a Wonderland. It was called No Such Thing. It's one that I actually cover frequently on my stream just because it's super fun to play on the guitar. It's a very, very fun song. However, it didn't really sell that well. It wasn't that people didn't like it. It was that nobody gave a shit. Everyone was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool.
What year did it come out?
This was 2001. So go back to that time, which is pretty wild.
When was Jack Johnson popular?
Late 90s, I believe he got started.
So I feel like maybe
Mid-to-late
that
90s.
could be a reason why, is because that's kind of, they're both like the singer-songwriter acoustic guitar boys, right?
There's a couple that, yeah, and they actually do get compared all the time, which frustrates me as a John Mayer historian, because I'm like, John Mayer is nothing like Jack Johnson.
Well,
just because he has an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, it's inevitable when you're in that similar of a genre. Like, there's not a lot of people who make it doing that, you know?
Oh no, it's true. That's why it's really interesting that like he ended up really carving his own path though and continued on, because unlike Jack Johnson and Jason Mraz and stuff, they kind of petered out. Like, you know what I mean? John Mayer's kind of petered out a little bit for a time, but there's a reason for that. We'll get to it. I got to talk to Atlas a little bit about it before stream started, because it's kind of like, and some people in chat may already know, and listening right now may already know, like, you know, he had a fall from grace for sure. Again, we'll get to that. But his early life before Room for Squares in 2001 was that he grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, which is a pretty, like, regular white neighborhood, honestly, pretty well-to-do, ho-dunk, like hello neighbor kind of shit. Though his parents, admittedly, and he sings about it sometimes in some songs, were pretty fucked up. Like his mom was like has been described as like abusive types of love, and his dad was always kind of like would bend over backwards just to please his mom, kind of thing. And he's talked about it, and he sang about it. It's pretty like, so it's kind of like a stressful household of white privilege, basically.
Right. Our favorite thing.
But like, yeah, exactly. But he was always kind of a little bit on, like, he was always a little daydreamy. He was always kind of a little bit above it in a way. Like, he knew what was going on. He was always self-aware of what was going on, and he never really participated. And he picked up the guitar around the same time I did, ironically, which is one reason I also connect to him, because I picked up the guitar at 13, and so did he. And so, like, that's when he was just like, you know what? And he picked it up, although unlike me, he picked it up and was just very naturally good at it. Like, he had just kind of like an inclination to how it worked, whereas I had to grind my fucking knees on the gravel for years to get mildly okay. I'm like, you know, like Goku, work really hard. You know, he's like Vegeta. He's born with it.
Wait, are you saying that you're Vegeta?
No, I'm Goku, because I had to work really, really hard.
But
whereas,
I think it's the opposite.
No.
Vegeta worked way hard. Anyway, we're not talking about that this time. We did it already.
And we'll talk about it again. I'll probably do an episode on Goku and Vegeta's relationship. But anyway, yeah, no. So he got good at it right away, and after he graduated high school, he actually didn't go to college. He just kind of worked at a gas station for a few years and like played on his shitty guitar and like at his gas station on like a portable amp that he would bring just to practice, and people would be like, "Pump gas, you fucking dumbass," and he'd be like, "Yeah, no, I am." Like, but it was also said that like apparently some people really enjoyed, you know, like they'd pull up to get their gas pumped and they'd hear like some cool little like a little blues riff, and they'd be like, "Oh, come get your gas," you know. It was kind of like a little gimmick for a little while too. But then after enough encouragement and stuff like that, he decided to attend Berklee College of Music in Boston. And he was there for, I think, 2 semesters, so 1 year. And he described them both very definitively. The first semester he went to Berklee saying, "I'm going to be the best goddamn guitar player this goddamn school has ever goddamn seen." And then, after winter break, he said something personal had happened to him. And I don't think he's ever disclosed. And if he had, I don't know it. But it's not my business, and I don't, to be honest, want to know that much about him in that way. But after, because again, we're talking about how his music came about, not like, again, personal life is just going to happen, so I'm going to talk about it.
No,
but again,
I need details. What happened? Give me the juice.
I want to know exactly, but I don't know. But something happened, and when he went back to Berklee, his job was he just wanted to be listenable. He just wanted to he just wanted people to be able to listen to his songs and go, "That's awesome, man," or "That's really fun," or "That's cool, dude." That's all he wanted. And like something happened. He went from like, "I want to be the best" to, "I hope people like it." And I'm like, wow, what a turnaround. So that was around 1998, 99, when he was like still a youngin', and he was going there, and he was just trying to make music that was pretty listenable. You could actually listen to tracks that he recorded in his dorm at Berklee College of Music. If you dig deep enough, you can find those early tracks. There's an EP called Inside Wants Out that I believe was recorded in Boston, but it may have been recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, which is what we'll get to next. Because after his time at Berklee College of Music, he only was there for a year, 2 semesters.
So wait, after the personal thing happened, he didn't go back, or is that in between the semesters?
It's in between.
Okay,
in between his
got
semesters,
it,
the personal thing happened. So first semester he was, "I'm going to be the best." Something happened. Then second semester happened, and he was like, "I just want people to like what I do." That was it. And it was a very different attitude. And during that second semester as well, he kind of realized, I don't really need to be here. This isn't necessarily like the connections were good, and he made tons of connections. He made tons of friends. And him and his buddy Clay Cook who was also a student at Berklee College of Music, they moved down to Atlanta, Georgia. Because there was and there is still today, a very poppin' music scene down there. Obviously, there's a lot of blues that comes down there, but the hip-hop scene down there is amazing. The singer-songwriter scene down there is amazing. The South actually has a really great music scene. People don't really know about that because we're in California and we just think that the South is like redneck racists and inbreds. It's like, actually, there's a lot of really dope places, like especially in Atlanta and like and places like that. Memphis is kind of cool too. Like.
There's also a lot of rednecks and MAGA hat wearers down there.
It's true, and we don't talk about necessarily.
Anyway,
it's fine. They're fine. You're fine. Anyway, listen to Lore Lords. Just kidding. Anyway, so he goes down to Atlanta, Georgia, with his buddy, and he starts like just playing show after show after show down there, and he just starts getting like practicing, like basically like. Think about, like, comparing this to Dragon Ball Z again, it's like the hyperbolic time chamber. He went into play mode. He just, like, played shows. That's all he did. He's show after show after show after show after show. And so, like, he just refined what he was good at. He got so good at it. And then that's when people discovered him, and he became big enough where a guy, John Alasia, I believe his name is. John Alasia of a record label called, I used to have this memorized. It's just hilarious. Room for Squares, because it was released on Aware Records. That's right, which is a smaller. Okay, so this is a fun fact of the record industry. There are big record labels like Columbia Records, Capitol Records, Warner Records, Universal.
I know
Records.
those names.
Yes. They have smaller record labels under them, like Interscope Records, Aware Records, stuff like that. And oftentimes those smaller labels will pick up smaller artists and play them, and basically test the waters. And if those artists get big enough, they'll jump up to the big leagues. And John Mayer did that. So he started off on Aware Records, and John Alasia was the man who discovered it. And then they made Room for Squares, which came out in 2001. And like I said, the first single on it was No Such Thing, and no one gave a shit. I mean, again, it had a following. He already had fans at this point. So bear in mind, there were already people who swore by this man and were saying, no, he's great. He's going to be great. He's going to be great. Just watch. But that wasn't it. And so it sold, it was positive. It made him money. It was a net positive for the record. The record sold pretty good because of it, but it wasn't anything to brag home about, nothing like that. And then... I don't know if it was Columbia or Aware or John Alasia or whose decision it was, but somebody was like, well, what about this song about sex? And John was like, oh, that's just a cute song on the record. And they went, no, we're gonna make it a single. So they made Your Body is a Wonderland a single. And John Mayer was so scared about that because he didn't want to be known as the guy who sings about girls and sex all the time. Although he does, that's not necessarily what he wants to be known for, and he wants those things to be more subtle than they wanted to be blatant. But the record label said, nay, sex sells, my friend.
Yeah, sex sells, exactly. I was just gonna say that.
Boy, fucking did it. Because that song exploded. It was ridiculous. And it even won in 2003 the male pop vocal performance for the Grammy. Your Body is a Wonderland won a Grammy in 2003 because of it. And again, the record came out in 2001 with No Such Thing as its leading thing. It came out towards the end. So 2002, it was basically just building up popularity. So in 2002 was when Your Body is a Wonderland was released as a single, but then it became, the Grammy winner at the beginning of 2003. And that was huge because that year he also had a new record coming out, Heavier Things, which we'll get to. But we're still on Room for Square. So then Your Body is a Wonderland came out, and he was scared about it. And although it won him a Grammy, it made him so much fucking money.
Right.
It was ridiculous. But he was always kind of left unsatisfied because he always thought that there were other songs on the record that could have shined brightly as well or brighter. And he was right in some ways because Why Georgia, which is on the list that I put out, that one actually kind of was everywhere. Because I remember going to the grocery store. I remember going to the orthodontist and the dentist and hearing Why Georgia by John Mayer. And I remember thinking, not connecting Why Georgia with Your Body is a Wonderland. To me, those songs were so different. Even though they're both acoustic songs with the same vocalist, to me, they're such different vibes that I didn't connect the two until years and years later. So I would hear Why Georgia, and I'd just be like, well, this is a nice song. And I'd hear Your Body is a Wonderland a day later and be like, oh my God, we get it. You like pussy.
Yeah, there's when I was listening to his music before this podcast, I recognized a lot of songs on the earlier albums, especially from like hearing on like grocery store radio. You know what I mean? Like that vibe.
Exactly, and that's why Georgia was one of those songs. And then there was two other songs that he always thought were songs that transcended his ability to write at the time, and I put them on the list as well, called Neon and 3x5. Neon is a technically phenomenal guitar playing song. There are guitar players who are incredibly great guitar teachers and players who cannot play Neon because he sings and plays it at the same time. This it's very technical. I highly recommend if you want to see some cool guitar playing to look it up. I learned it once and actually I couldn't sing it at the same time, but I could do the chords a little bit. I should go back and practice it again because it is super fun, but it's so hard. And his guitar playing and musician fan base loved that. But then 3x5 is kind of, I call it the songwriting banger because it's such a hidden gem, and he defines it as, even for his songwriting ability in 2001, he defined it as like, it transcended my ability to write songs. He said, I can't write songs this good. But he did. That's kind of like what he said. He's like, I can't write songs this good, but I ended up writing this one. And it barely saw the light of day, and that was 3x5. And the entire song, it's not about sex, it's not about falling in love, it's about literally traveling, seeing the world, and saying there's just something else between seeing it on a picture and seeing it in person. And that's the whole song. The song is basically just about like, I can send you a 3x5 postcard. Because remember, this is 2001. There's no like crazy. There's not a lot of like social. There's not a lot of social media yet. So like,
we got friends space. Is that friend zone?
Friendster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Napster was a thing. And John Mayer, by the way, on a business side, he didn't hate Napster. He loved it. He didn't care that his music was getting out there for free. He just wanted people to listen to it. So he used Napster, and he became very successful using Napster. Because, again, he didn't care. He didn't care people pirated his music. He's like, I don't care. Just listen to it.
Raise your black flags. Captain Mayer's here.
Yeah, he was very, very, like, kind of punk rock in that way. He's like, I don't fucking care. Pirate it. Come to a show. You know what I mean? He's like, pay for a show, pay for merch, pay for a show. I don't give a shit if you like, whatever. Whereas Metallica was like, you guys can't do this.
Oh my god, you're listening to my song without my permission.
I know, it's fucking so dumb. The music industry does need to change, and the music industry, by the way, hasn't really changed since this time, and that sucks.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. Because making money in the music industry is borderline impossible unless you're like, you got thousands and thousands of hits, which is very hard to do. Although Untitled did it once before the label, anyway. So anyway, back to 3x5. I personally connect to that song. I've traveled the world. I've been lucky enough to do that. I've traveled the country. I've been lucky enough to do that. And I remember while I was driving from Massachusetts to LA with my mom, I would listen to 3x5 very often because I'd be like, wow, this country really is very, very beautiful in all of its glory. From the north to the south to the east to the west, it really is very beautiful, and it's a damn shame that we get stuck inside so often. You know what I mean? And right now, especially 3x5, because of pandemic, could be a very meaningful song to people. And another song of his called "Great Indoors," but that's just a goofy kind of song. But 3x5 again, I always thought to me was it was just such a beautiful piece of music, and for a 20-year-old kid to write, that's pretty good,
Yeah.
So like 22-year-old kid, that's not bad. So who doesn't know anything about the world yet, because he just ends up learning. So anyway, again, he wins a Grammy for Your Body's a Wonderland. He's now kind of pegged as this sensitive singer-songwriter guy, and he's like, okay, I got to work on this new record though. But instead of making, I forgot to mention, Room for Squares 2001. A lot of acoustic guitar. Almost every song has acoustic guitar leading it. Neon, I think, is the only exception, which is an electric guitar. Maybe City Love, too. But every other song, it's acoustic guitar all the way through. Heavier Things, 2003. That was the second record. And I believe this one actually came out on Columbia. The success of Room for Squares was good enough where Aware pumped them up to Columbia. So one record in already jumps up to the big leagues.
He went from minor leagues to big leagues, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Minor leagues to big leagues, and also that's a lot of fucking pressure.
Yeah,
because this is honestly one of his most forgotten about records. People don't really think about Heavier Things, which is kind of sad. I like it. I think it's got a couple good songs on it. It's not one of my favorites either, to be honest. But it also met him with some scrutiny. Thankfully, he had a couple songs on it that people could buy into very, very strongly. The first was for the musicians out there who love John Mayer, who are like, yeah, we love him because he's a great musician and he's a great technical guitar player and songwriter, blah, blah, blah. They loved songs like Come Back to Bed, Something's Missing, Clarity. Oh, I love Clarity. I should have put Clarity on that list. That's a good song too. But I didn't. But listen to Clarity.
Bonus extra credit.
Extra credit, listen to Clarity. But and then there was another song, which is, I put it on the list as best song on the record, fuck you, because it is. It's a song called Wheel. Best song on the record, fight me.
Yes, I listened to that one first.
Yeah, when I was younger, and it's still to this day, I can listen to that song, and if it's the right time of years and the right things are happening and I'm in the right mood, I'll cry. I'll just start crying. It's like, and the song Wheel is just about moving on. It's about life moving on, whether you wanted it to or not. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, oh, that's such a good concept of a song. And he mastered it. Because, like, there's lines in it that hint to romance a little bit, but there's other things that, like, hint to a greater thing. You know, like, there's a great line. One of the first lines is, airports see it all the time, where someone's last goodbye blends in with someone's sigh because someone is coming home, in hand a single rose, and that's the way this wheel keeps working. And it's just kind of like, it's to me, I'm like, it's so good. He's literally like painting a picture of like a giant crowd of people at an airport. You know what I mean? And you see some people leaving, some people coming, some people going. It actually reminds me of that scene in Love Actually. Anyway, the Christmas movie that
I haven't seen that movie, so I can't comment.
Okay, but I love that song. I think, and again, as a guitar player too, it has one of my favorite fucking like blues guitar solos from like 2003. You know, not like BB, you know, not like modern blues kind of thing, not old blues, but like they're very different. But like very beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous song, and it just moves me very, very much. But they didn't make that one a single, no. Again, John Mayer wrote a song called Daughters. You all know it. Fathers, be good to your daughters. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, that song is that's a movie theater preview song.
Yep. Also Elevator and Grocery Store, absolutely.
Yep.
And John Mayer wrote that song for a really nice reason. He wrote that song because he was thinking because he dated somebody who had trust issues in men. Weird.
Why?
And
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
But no, and like, you know what I mean? But like, and he really just wanted, and he said, he's like, the whole, like, the full lyric would be, if it was a conversation, fathers be good to your daughters because I can't love this girl. Like, that's like what the real kind of like sentence is. Though in the song, it's fathers be good to your daughters will love like you do. You know, and then, but you know, that's a nicer, more poetic line. You know, but and like the whole point of the song was that he was just kind of like, he's like, and it's a good message. It is a good message to, you know, be a good father, be a good parent. Don't be shitty to your kids, because if you are, then they become abusive lovers in the future, and it's hard, and like, and that's very true. And a lot of people do have trust issues, in men and women alike, you know. And that's what that song was about. And it was track 6 or 7 or something like that on the album. There was 10 songs, and it was track 6 or 7, which, but by the way, is a clear sign for a songwriter that they don't want it to be a single. If you see a song that is later on in the record, chances are it's not intended to be a single. And John Mayer never wanted it to be a single. In fact, he said to the record label, "Don't put this out as a single." And guess what they did?
Did they put it out as a single?
They put it out as a single.
Oh, wow.
And it was making so much fucking money. And meanwhile, while it was making money, while it was making, like, getting hits, while it was getting sold everywhere, he was saying that he was busting into Columbia Records going, "Who did this?" Like, he was pissed. He was so fucking mad. He was like, "Why are you doing this to me? You're ruining my fucking career." And they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "'Cause I'm going to get pegged as this guy." And he did. and he was right, because after Heavier Things came out, like, people didn't listen to the songs like Wheel or Clarity that much, even though those songs were actually really good. Like, and not songs about necessarily like cliche romance or stuff like that. They were about, you know, deeper empathy, and they were about introspection and growing, and like really profound songs about moving life and stuff. And then they're like, how about the song that's kind of like, I love girls, but I can't because you know, like,
But the really soft song that makes people cry.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just kind of like, and he was so fucking mad, and like again, and he won a Grammy for it. He won he won a Grammy, 2 Grammys for Daughters. He won 2005 Male Pop Vocal Performance and 2005 Song. It was Song of the Year. He hated it. He was like later nowadays, by the way, he'll say that it was very successful and he's happy about it. Like,
yeah, but
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's been years, but
it's basically, it's like getting typecast in the music world.
Mm-hmm. And he was so scared. So, and he was so fucking mad about it. He was like, my next, and he kind of, as you can, and like this was his first, what is referred to as bigger gap. And he's now, and then from now on, he's basically taken huge, like at least 3-year gaps between his records, with one exception. But he's taken at least 3-year gaps between his records, which I, as a music lover, like. I don't like when people put their records out on 2-year turnarounds. That's actually a very, again, more record label, music industry stuff. 2-year record turnarounds are very, very common in most contracts. Record labels want you to produce music to constantly be putting out. So oftentimes they would, and I don't know if they do to this day, because again, things are moving on to the digital realm and singles are dominating, not so much records anymore. But people would, they would say like to put you on like a 2 album at least, like 2 to 3 year album turnaround.
Right.
And John Mayer had, I believe, I only think he only had like a 2 or 3 album contract, to be honest. So I think he was okay from this next one. So he then, after Heavier Things and after Daughters, he was so fucking mad, he didn't write anything for the record label for about a year. Instead, he hooked up with his producer of Heavier Things, Steve Jordan, and a phenomenal bass player from Europe named Pino Palladino. Great name, by the way.
That's a Tommy Two Tits style name right there.
Hell yeah, dude.
Pino Palladino.
Yeah, Tommy, do you know Pino?
Yeah, he's a good fucking bass player.
Yeah, all right. Pino Palladino, yeah, great. He really is, though. He's a grooving bass player. And he looks funny when he plays bass, though. He gets so into it, he just kind of like rocks his head back and forth like a turtle. He's really great, though. And he hooked up with them and was like, I'm writing a fucking blues record. So in between Heavier Things and his next big album, he releases a live album called Try with the John Mayer Trio. Some people may have heard of the John Mayer Trio, some may have not. The John Mayer Trio is his blues trio. It is just those 3. Well, there's one guitar player that shares the stage sometimes, depending on the song. But for the most part, it's Steve Jordan, John Mayer, and Pino Palladino. Steve Jordan on the drums, phenomenal drummer. John Mayer on guitar and vocals, and Pino Palladino on the bass. And that's it, baby. And it was awesome. His musician fans, fucking, that was like, that was one of to some of his fans, that was still the apex record for him, was Try, because they're like, yeah, he finally went into his blues stuff. But what was great was during that record Try, he was writing songs for his next record too, because he was playing hard blues. He was playing blues, like he was playing what he listened to Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, Buddy Guy. This is what he listened to growing up. That's what he was. He was like this white privileged kid from Connecticut listening to like old Southern, like, you know, fucking like Jim Crow blues music and stuff. Like,
yeah.
But he was obsessed with it. And to be fair, he always said that there was more of a connection with it. He always felt as though blues music, and I wholeheartedly agree with him, blues music and the things that evolve from it have a deeper connection to the soul and to the ground and to the earth. Like, whereas like some other things like classical and metal music, for example, are very transcendent, and they're supposed to be, and that's cool, and that everything has its place, and I love all of it to be true. But there's something very important to say about like the music that's just like, no, sit down with me now. Sit down here with me and listen. And that's what blues music is, and that's what he wanted to write, and that's what that John Mayer Trio was. Try was this phenomenal, and I recommend, again, this was not on the list that I put out, but for extra credit homework, if you want to listen to great, like, again, kind of modern blues, it's 15 years old now, but like, go listen to John Mayer's Try. It's so good.
So is it?
And it's
is
rough
that,
around the edges too.
Is that
the way it's
listed
supposed to
as
be.
like John Mayer Trio? Not John Mayer.
Yes,
Oh, it
it's-
is. That's found
Yep,
it.
it is.
Is that their only album they did?
I think so, but
Yes,
they may
it
have had
is.
singles. I think, yeah.
At least on
But they
Spotify.
performed for at least 6 years together, so like on and off.
Right.
So, but during that time, John Mayer was gaining his confidence back after the public hit that was Daughters. And bear in mind, at this time too, he's now been like in the zeitgeist of Hollywood, been dating quite a few affluent women. He's dated the actress, I believe, Minka Kelly and Jessica Simpson in these times. And I think there was one other that I can't think about right now, and I'm forgetting, and I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, he dated a few high-profile people. So he was the sensitive singer-songwriter guy dating beautiful women. He was a womanizer. So then that's when he started getting pegged as Mr. Womanizer Douchebag. Was around this time. And he hated all of it. So he wanted to do the blues thing. So he did the blues thing. And he made John Mayer Trio. And that was giving him his groove back. That was making him feel more confident. That was making him feel like he could do something extra. And then he started working on what is probably regarded even to this day as his greatest record of all time. It's not my personal favorite, but I do understand why people say this. 2006's Continuum. Again, and I cannot emphasize this enough. People will swear and say this is his greatest piece of work from start to finish. It is a masterpiece, and I cannot argue with them. I really can't. Every single song on this record, if you ask me, could have been a single. It's just great. But you want to know what the record label told him when he handed in the masters? By the way, what handing in the masters means is when you're done with the record and all the songs are finished, you hand all the songs over to the record label. Yeah, for those who don't know. The record label told him there's not a single hit on it. The record label told him that they're not going to make any money off of this, and they might even put this on a lower record label, again, like Aware or something like that, because they weren't sure it was going to do it. And John Mayer, and bear in mind, John Mayer just came off of the high of working on the John Mayer Trio. He was certain that this fusion of pop and blues in Continuum was going to be perfect, and everyone around him was telling him it was. And then he gets to the executive office, and they look at him and go, "This sucks." And he said he'll never forget. He left the boardroom, went into the bathroom, and just started fucking weeping. Like he just started crying his eyes out because he was the work that he was almost most proud of. He was like he just started weeping. He's like, "There's not a single hit on it."
I love that it's just a circle of dudes who get to tell you that it's not going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, those circles of dudes are fucking idiots. And when it came out, people were like, holy shit. And it really did define him. At this point, John Mayer was no longer the sensitive singer-songwriter guy. He was a badass, because he had the song "Waiting on the World to Change." That was the first one that came out, and no one heard him sing like that before. No one heard him play like that before. It was a song that was so much bigger, and it was during the Bush administration too. So it was during a time where Bush was sending our people to war over and over and over again, and he came out with songs that were literally telling Bush to fuck off. Basically, it was very political. He had a song called "Belief" and "Waiting on the World to Change." Both songs were about saying, like, we're not going to win these wars. These wars are about nothing. These wars are about either religion or money, and it's stupid either way. You're not going to win either of these wars. Like, that was basically the purpose of those things. And he was saying that, like, and "Waiting on the World to Change" is obviously the idea of, like, every generation is more progressive than the last, so we always have to wait for the world to change. It's a very kind of more observing thing. And everyone fucking loved it. And also, "Waiting on the World to Change" won 2007's Male Pop Vocal Performance. Because, again, no one heard him sing like that before. He also had much more better vocal training. He sang his heart out on it, and he loved these songs more than anything in the world. He was not writing songs on Continuum to make money or please the masses. He was writing songs on Continuum for him. And this is when he was about 28 to 30 years old.
So what year was this? You said 2006?
Yeah, 2006 is when it came out. So he was, yeah. So that was when he was 29, because he was born in 1977. Yes, I know that. So he turned 30 in 2007, and 2007 was regarded as one of his greatest years of all time, because he also had his live record that came out. So right after Continuum came out, he released his live record called "Where the Light Is," which had some of his best live performances captured on tape. So good, so good. He was 30 years old at that point, because it was late in the year in 2007. And that's also where the cover of Free Falling comes from that I mentioned earlier for my lore. For Pat lore, when I got into John Mayer was around this time in 2007 was because that's when he released, or 2008, early 2008, when he released the single Free Falling. And I was like, this is really good. For those who want to know context, his cover of Free Falling is 3 acoustic guitars and 2 vocalists. And the 3 acoustic guitars are all playing different parts, and the vocals are just so good, like so good. And so again, they're like again.
And this is a cover.
This is a cover. This is just a cover. It's the only time I've ever said that I like a cover more, and I think a cover is better than the original. I'm usually not the type to do that. I'm usually like, oh, of course the original's better. There, I'm a purist. But like for this one, I'm like, no, John Mayer's cover is better because I love Tom Petty and I love Tom Petty's Free Falling. Obviously, it's a phenomenal song. But there's something about his version of it that makes me just go like, oh, this is way more emotional and profound. This transcends the song into like an ethereal plane almost to me. Also, for extra credit homework, there's one other song that is like that to me on his live record, Where the Light Is, called In Your Atmosphere. It has never come out on a record. I don't know if it ever will come out on a record. And it's a song that he would only really play before he was famous. And he played it for and he would play it sometimes at like small shows in bars and stuff, but he wouldn't play it at
But
shows.
it's in the live album, but not a normal album.
Yep. It's only on the live
That's
album.
wild.
And,
that's wild to never put it out on a normal album.
Yeah, and it's just an acoustic song. Him, his acoustic guitar, and his vocals. That's it. And and again, like I used the word ethereal earlier. It's a transcendent song. It just, to me, it's like it's what songwriters should aspire to. Like they shouldn't, like as much as I love artists like Taylor Swift, it's like yes, you can write those types of songs too. That's cute, but write something like this. If you can do this, then I'll be blown away. And that song to me is just out of this world good. And so so basically and that's when I started falling in love with him too, because I found his Free Falling, and then that's when I found In Your Atmosphere. That's when I found Why Georgia from back in 2001. That's when I found Continuum in general, like songs like Gravity and Slow Dancing in a Burning Room and Wheel and 3x5. All these songs came rushing at me, and I was like, oh my God, like these are so good. These songs are. He's not just singing about sex and women and love. He's singing about like everything. He literally has a song for everything, and I could also relate to it very, very well growing up in privileged white Massachusetts. But
just like him.
Although he was in Connecticut, but it's basically the same state. It's
whatever. There's no difference.
Right? There really is no difference. And so, that's when I started falling very much in love with the man, and I was like, this is amazing. He's amazing. He's incredible. And then he released another album, and this is my favorite album probably, personally, is his 2009 effort. So 3 years later, he releases Battle Studies. This is also the time of his fall from grace, is the very end of 2009 and the beginning of 2010. So towards the end of 2009, we'll say, I think it's around September or October, he releases Battle Studies. With the lead-off single, I believe, was Heartbreak Warfare. Cool song. I also love again, this is my favorite record personally. I love Battle Studies. It's got a vibe in it the whole time. It's a little bit Continuum, so it's got a little bit of that blues thing that he had before, and it's got but something a lot new, and in my opinion is like the inklings of his maturity, which we will see in the coming years, that he blossoms, because he blossoms after this record, because he kind of he does some dumb things. So he releases Heartbreak Warfare. It doesn't get as well received as Continuum did. He puts out the single Half of My Heart with Taylor Swift, which was cute and all, but didn't really get that much. He actually got nominated for a Grammy, though, for that, but did not win. And he also released my personal favorite song of all time, Who Says? He also released that song. But again, it wasn't necessarily taken super well. Nobody was really like, this is amazing. And so he had all of these... and again, so he had a bunch of songs that came out, and no one was saying that any of them are really that amazing. Meanwhile, I'm listening to them all and thinking I've never related to music closer in my life. I've never related to an artist or songs more in my life. When I first heard Who Says, I remember I was in the car with my ex-girlfriend, and we were driving home from a date. And I'd already heard the song, but I never heard the song. You know what I mean? There's a difference between listening to music.
You sometimes it's in the background, and then sometimes you actually hear what the lyrics are saying.
Yeah, and not just the lyrics too, because remember, as a musician, I listen to the music too. So I listened to all of it at once. So like, it was the first time that I had listened to it. I had listened to the music and the lyrics and the melody and all of it combined. And I remember in the car, I just started, like, I tried to keep it together, but I just started like trying to hold back tears. And I was like, why? I'm fucking 18. I was an 18-year-old kid. Why
I'm a man.
Yeah, I'm a man now. No, that's not so much that, but he's singing about things I don't understand. Why am I crying? Like I don't understand what he's singing about. He's at this point, he's 30, 32, 33 years old. Like, I don't know what the fuck he's singing about. Like,
right.
Why am I crying to this song? And so like, and then my ex even noticed and was just kind of like, "Are you okay, babe?" And I was just kind of like, "Yeah,
I'm fine."
I really like the song. I guess because I really like. She thought it was very sweet, actually. She was really nice. She was but yeah, and so even though John Mayer, and this is what I always thought was very ironic, this record that he put out, from Hollywood's perspective, Billboard's perspective, the top 40 perspective, was a dud. But to a kid in Massachusetts, it literally unlocked something in my brain. Like, it unlocked a level of empathy or something in my brain I didn't know I had, and I was like, wow, I love this, and I want to write music like this. And then Battle Studies became my favorite album after that. And every single song I'd listen to from that record, I just go like, this is amazing somehow.
Well, I'm glad you said it. You said it here, because I'm gonna have join the call right now. John Mayer. I'm joking.
I never want to meet him. I'll talk about that later. I never want to meet him. But he's been too much of an impact on my life. I can't meet him.
You don't want that star to be diminished.
Exactly. I want him to be remembered the way I'm referring to him in this, even though we're about to talk about the dark stuff now. So, like I said, while this stuff is meaning the world to some stupid kid in Massachusetts, it doesn't mean anything to Hollywood or his bank account, even though, again, he's making money, by the way. He's not, again, none of these records put him in the negative. Like, he always made money. Like, which is why I'd love to go up to him. I wish I could go back in time and smack him upside the head. You know what I mean? Like, my 30-year-old self, I'd love to pat 30-year-old, go to John 30-year-old and be like, fuck you, idiot. But this is part of the story, and this is why I love him so much. You know what I mean? And so he starts kind of, honestly, in my opinion, having a crisis, like an early midlife crisis, because he's starting to see himself. He's like, I'm 32 now. I'm not really a pop music guy anymore. Am I becoming irrelevant? Oh God, I have to be relevant. And he starts trying to do other things. He starts trying to get into stuff like stand-up comedy. And to be fair, some of his stuff was kind of funny. Maybe I'm just saying that because I do love him as a person, so I thought it was funny. But he made some really dumb jokes. And the worst thing was, he was trying to be, and he admitted this later on, he was trying to be like above everything. He tried to be meta. He tried to be like, oh, if people think I'm a douchebag womanizer, I'm gonna act like a douchebag womanizer, even though I'm not really, just so it'll get to them and it'll annoy them. It'll give them something to write about. And then when they actually come for me, they'll find nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all that really did was kind of make him look worse. You know,
it just reinforced the negative image.
Exactly. It reinforced the negative image over and over again, to the point where one day he said, and I quote, "I have a white supremacist dick. I guess I'm just not into other he didn't say anything else after that. That's basically what he said. And he's just referring to the fact that he wasn't attracted to other women of color, which, by the way, he's also said is not true in other places. Like, he's before and after this interview, he's mentioned multiple times like being attracted to other people, and he's worked with women, for example, like Alicia Keys, who he's referred to as one of the most beautiful people he's ever met in his entire life. You know what I mean? So he's not he's trying to be funny, and he said something so fucking stupid. And it was on the Rolling Stones record, and he said in a later interview, after he said what he said, he went home and he realized what he did immediately, without it coming out. The interview didn't come out yet, and he went, "Oh fuck, I can't believe I thought that was funny." He knew immediately after that it wasn't funny. He was even his own self-editor, which is I think is fucking hilarious, because that's actually very much to him, and this is something I relate to him about, is while he's doing something, he's very in the zone, and it's not till afterward he can realize that he may have done something stupid, and I'm the exact same kind of way. Like, I get so in the zone, I'm like, don't bother me, I'm going to do my thing. And that's very much how he was. But he was at the point in his career where he was having a crisis. He was having the midlife crisis of the music industry, which is, am I too old for people to like anymore? The answer is no, that's stupid. Like, but he didn't understand that because he was so caught up in the Hollywood bullshit, the tabloid crap. Again, he was trying to play with people. He was like, oh, if they think I'm this, I'm going to pretend to be this, and like blah, blah, blah. He was literally digging himself a hole, and it was bad. It was very bad. And then to the point where he tried to be so funny, quote unquote, that he said something so egregiously stupid. The next day, after the next day when the interview came out, he actually had a live show, and he for Battle Studies. It was during the Battle Studies 2010 tour. He got up on stage, and after a few songs, he was about to play Gravity. He started crying on stage, and you can actually find this YouTube video. That's on YouTube, of him crying on stage and apologizing to his audience and apologizing to his band and like saying, that's not what I'm about, that's not why I'm here, that's not why they're here. Which, by the way, most of his band was made up of black people. Like I'm not even kidding. It was like, there was like, I think Pino was the only, like, the bassist Pino Palladino was still there, and he was white. Like, that was it. Like, you know what I mean? And he just breaks down crying on stage because he knows he fucked up, obviously, and he's already receiving the feedback from it. But he's just like, that's not why I came into music. That's not why I want to be here. Like, because, you know, he was remembering back to his early records again when he was doing it just because he was trying so hard to be a musician. He wanted to be, like, listenable. He wanted people to love what they heard. He wanted just to be fun. He wanted to be the taste of the night, you know, that kind of thing. Like, back in the days of Room for Squares in 2001. And it came crashing down when he got caught up in the ego. He got up in his ego, man. That was it. Like, he got so caught up in the label and the transcendent brand of John Mayer that he realized that he forgot to realize he's just a person. Mr. John Mayer. He forgot to realize he was just a person, and he fucked up big time. And again, he just broke down crying on stage and apologized profusely to everybody, his band, and like his band forgave him, thankfully. You know what I mean? And but honestly, but to this day, kind of the overall zeitgeist around him has not. Because if I bring him up to anybody in a crowd, generally speaking, sometimes they call him a douchebag immediately, and they refer to this exact moment. And I'm like, yeah, it's been 11 years. Like, you know what I mean?
that racist guitar player, right? That guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thankfully that I've never heard that one straight out. But they'd be like, didn't he say some stupid shit before? And I'm like, yes, he did. Like, but that's all he's remembered for. Instead of songs like Gravity, instead of songs like In Your Atmosphere, or you know what I mean? Like any of these, Who Says, my personal favorite. Like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't learn. And then here's where it gets kind of crazy and a little off the rails. Is Cosmic Karma came in and swung in, and they gave him, and he got sick with something I believe it's referred to as, I want to say, like, I got to look up exactly what it was called because I want to say the word lymph nodes, but I should not be using my phone because it doesn't load quickly. John Mayer throat.
Dude, you want to look at pictures of his throat? Ew.
Yeah, no, but for real. Granuloma, that's what it's called. John Mayer was diagnosed in 2011 with granuloma. And what that is it's basically like growths in his throat that prevented him from talking or singing. So he literally, like, after he said those stupid fucking things, he had Cosmic Karma come down and slap him in the face, and he was unable to speak anymore. And he had to get Botox through a needle injected into his neck. Bear in mind, he's like 33, 34 years old. He's not an old guy. He's a young man. Like, and he has to get Botox injected into his neck in order to heal this. But when that's happening, he can't talk. So like, and this isn't like, oh, he can't talk for a couple hours or a couple days. It's years. Like, he literally, like, he was talking with an iPad and a piece of paper and like whiteboards and stuff like that for about a year and a half.
Jesus Christ, that long?
Yeah, because what happened was, after it was like 6 months, he went back to the doctors and they were like, hey, this thing's going down, we think it's working. And he was like, great, I'm gonna get back to work. So then for about like 2 weeks, he starts trying to sing again. He starts trying to bring back his singing. He goes back into the studio, records a couple songs for his next record, which we'll get to, But then it comes back. The granuloma comes back, and it gets worse, and it's worse than ever. So then they have to give him the Botox again. And so and to be fair, maybe he shouldn't have gone back right away. He should have rested a little bit more. Could have been a little bit more of that. But again, he just shut the fuck down. And he, in this time, no one's heard. No, unless you're a fan of his, no one's heard of him. He's literally out of the tabloids. You can literally if you look up John Mayer from 2001 to 2006 or 2009 even, you'll see tons of shit about him. From 2010 to 2012, you can see almost nothing. Not a lot. It's basically the negative press that he got from after the shitty things he said, radio silence, and John Mayer's sick. That was it. That's all you heard from him. Because people hated him because they were yeah, and then he got literally that cosmic karma slapped in the face, and he got this fucking thing in his throat while he was trying to record his next record. And bear in mind, this is also after he went through this profound mistake, and he was also going through kind of a growth. And I mentioned this earlier. One of the reasons why Battle Studies is my favorite record is because to me it sounds like a transition. Yes, it has that continuum sound from 2006 and his early John Mayer stuff, but songs like Who Says and War of My Life, they have such a extra tone to them that is way more mature and beyond a 20-year-old kid, a 30-year-old at that point. And he starts learning some really, really, really brutal lessons at this time, between his throat sicknesses, between the negative press. Imagine not being able to do what you do best while simultaneously being told you're the biggest piece of shit in Hollywood.
And also not being able to defend yourself because you can't fucking talk.
Yeah, he just... And this is why I feel I genuinely feel bad for him. And he's to this day, I'm convinced he's traumatized. I really do. I'm laughing about it not because I think it's funny, but because I feel bad. But in this time, he's still playing the guitar. He's playing his favorite instrument.
Whoa,
still doing his thing.
your voices. Your voice is going way robot-y.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. But anyway, yeah. So what I was saying was he was so he was still playing guitar and he was still writing songs. However, he wasn't necessarily able to show anybody anything, except for a man named Don Was, who was of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, who was an old folk and kind of country singer from the 60s, 70s and stuff like that. And he started, John Mayer, in this time of solitude and quiet, he started getting into bands like Crosby, Stills and Nash, The Grateful Dead, Neil Young, Fleetwood Mac. He started listening to these folk artists. And he started writing songs like that. And then his next record in 2012 was called Born and Raised. And it came out, and the entire record is basically one gigantic apology for he's hey, sorry I'm me. Sorry I did what I did. I'm so sorry. That's kind of what the record is. And on that record, if you listen to some songs, you can hear the granuloma. You can literally hear when he was in the studio when he still had it, and he was still trying to sing. There are songs that are rough on the vocals because he wasn't up to par. But for the record, it sounded really good because it was his arguably one of his least popular, but I personally think some of his best music. Musically, I think it's some of his best work is on this record. 2012, Born and Raised, and the first song that came out close to the pop song was called Shadow Days. Actually, my least favorite on the record. I don't like it very much. But then he came out with a song called Queen of California, and that song's a fucking vibe, man. It's such a vibe. It sounds so cool. It's just it's kind of this country groove, but it has this modern, almost marijuana stoned vibe to it. This is long before I smoked weed, by the way. I smoke weed nowadays, but I did not at the time of these records. But I had this it was these records that I was hey, weed can't be that bad. I don't know what and it had just these very relaxing and just almost you want to sit by the river, string up some lights, get a fire going, grill up some food for your friends, drink some beers, some friends are jumping in and out of the river while you're all laughing, all listening to music and stuff. That's the vibe. It's so good.
California summer vibes?
Basically, yeah, California summer vibes. And and that's what kind of Born and Raised has a lot of in there. But then there were also songs on there that were just about absolute misery. There's a song called Whiskey, Whiskey, Whiskey. And it's such a brutal song about it's basically just like it's almost like a song that was written by a drunk person, like, oh, whiskey, 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 water, 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 sleep. Like that's literally the chorus. It's those things, but it's not like that. Not sang that way. Obviously. I'm being a troll, but but that's what the lyrics are. It's a whiskey, 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 water, 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 sleep, and and the whole song is like, I'm a fucking idiot. There's a great line in that song that goes, walking home with no one left, speak softly underneath my breath. Hey world, you ain't seen nothing yet. Great, now it's raining. It's so good. It's so good. And it's like this line that to me is just kind of like, in his little world, he was the rock star, but no one around him cared. No one around him gave a shit. Everyone hated him. And then and then it started to rain. You know what I mean? It's just like, how much worse could this get? And then it rained. And it's just a great song. And there's another song called "Speak for Me," which he wrote when he couldn't talk. And it's also the song that you could probably hear his vocals are really scratchy on. It sounds really scratchy. And the song's basically just kind of like, clearly I can't be trusted to use my own fucking mouth. Please speak for me. Like, it's basically the song. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Please speak for me. But then there's another song on it called "Age of Worry." And the song is kind of about himself letting go of what was bringing him down, which is this tabloid shit, worrying about what the newspaper said, worrying about what Rolling Stones had to say, what TMZ had to say, caring about what MTV had to say. Like, he stopped caring about that, and he just started caring about what was important, like he said he did when he broke down on stage crying. He said, I'm just going to start doing the music. He meant it. He kept his promise on stage that day, which is something that I always was like, he kept his promise, he apologized, he kept it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, because he did. He stopped being that monster that he was, and he tried to become. He's like, and then after that too, starting in 2012, he worked with, like, all he wanted to do was work with younger artists. So he worked with artists like Frank Ocean, and he helped produce Frank Ocean's record, Channel Orange, which is regarded as one of the like best fucking R&B records of the 2010s era. Is Channel Orange. It's such a phenomenal Frank Ocean record. It's so good, and John Mayer had a huge hand in that. He played guitar on it a lot too, which is cool. But like, he also produced it because he was like, no, I have to give back now. So he started to give back at other artists, and he did it a lot. He did it with Mac Miller too before his untimely passing. He did with Mac Miller. He worked with Mac Miller. He worked with Frank Ocean. Not that these artists, by the way, needed his help, but that added, like,
the
juice.
added star power.
Exactly. Like, they would have been fine. I love Frank Ocean. He's great. You know what I mean? I love Mac Miller, right? May he rest in peace. Great. But with them, bam. Yeah. And so it like, he kept working, and that's what he did. He worked with more artists than that too. For the life of me, I'm just drawing blanks. But he kept trying to raise other people during that time. And during during this era of Born and Raised, he started touring with what was left of the Grateful Dead, which is now called Dead and Company. So, and he still tours to this day with Dead and Company, by the way. Like he's literally, I think he's on stage with them like right now, like maybe even tonight as we speak. So that's
the surviving members of the Grateful Dead, and he plays with them, or he just does his own stuff like before they do?
Oh no, he plays with them. He plays the Grateful Dead's music. He's learned, basically, he jokes all the time that he's learned half of the Grateful Dead's catalog, and he's been playing with them for almost a decade now. He's like, I still have like half their music to learn, because they're just, if anybody, the Grateful Dead, for those who don't know, has been around a long time, and they've written a fuckload of great music. And so and he's learning all, like Truckin', for example, by the way, is a great one that you should listen to while you're playing Truck Simulator. But for real though, it's a great country song, but it's like old school outlaw kind of like stoner country, you know what I mean? It's like that California rock kind of shit.
Honestly, John Mayer is great American Truck Simulator music too.
Oh, for sure, definitely. But yeah, so around this time he started touring with the Grateful Dead, or again, Dead and Company. and he wrote Born and Raised, and he was also working on another record that was kind of like Born and Raised B-side record, which was called Paradise Valley. This is the only exception to his rule where he took at least 3 years off between records, was that he released Born and Raised in 2012, and he released Paradise Valley in 2013. 2 records. But they have very similar vibes, and Paradise Valley does sound like Born and Raised B-sides album. However, it's really good still. Really, really good still. And I can't emphasize that enough. There's 3 songs that are on the list that I posted that I recommend listening to. Wildfire, because it has banger vibes. Like I said with Queen of California, like those, like, you're partying with your friends on a grassy knoll in a river close by with, like, that California party vibes. Like, Wildfire hits that to a T. So good. There's a song called Paperball, which is actually the John Mayer Reddit's best song, voted, I think, last year. They agreed that they think Paperball, for whatever reason, is like the best John Mayer song. It was a really weird, like, thing that they went through to discover it, but it is a really good song. Like, I recommend it. It's probably one of his best pop love / confession songs. And then there's a song that's one of my personal favorites called On the Way Home. It's the last song on the record, and it's just very, very meaningful to me. Just, it's about going home. And home is a very abstract concept for me that I personally connect to. But anyway, and this actually starts his longest drought between records. Between 2013 and 2017, there was a no John Mayer. So 4 years, nothing. And as a John Mayer fan, I lost my fucking mind. However, I did see him live in 2013, right after he released Paradise Valley. It was awesome. So he was playing Born and Raised in Paradise Valley. So it was just like, again, I wish I spoke to back then, because that would have been the concert to do it at, because it was like, just like California rock in Boston. And I mean, thankfully I had some drinks, so that was good. But it was a wonderful show. And I haven't seen John Mayer since, because I've never been able to afford tickets. So I've missed a lot of concerts, and I basically ignore it. I literally, like, the one time I do the toxic masculinity of pushing things down is with the Nintendo Switch and Legend of Zelda and John Mayer concerts. I literally I push down the fact that I haven't seen him live in years, and I haven't have a Switch. I literally have emotionally put these, like, I've stored them away, because I'm like, if I think about it too much, I get genuinely upset. like sad, not angry, just sad. Like, because I'm like, I've been broke for so many years, I couldn't afford it. Anyway, so 2017, we'll fast forward. Again, he's been playing, though. He's been playing shows. He's been, again, in these 4 years, he's helped a lot of other artists. He's been producing a lot of artists. He's been, like, playing with Dead & Company a lot, so he's been doing tons of shit still. And then he comes out with what he refers to as his most mixed tapey record ever, The Search for Everything, in 2017. I fucking love this record. This is probably my second favorite record of his, personally, is The Search for Everything. It has songs like Still Feel Like Your Man, Emoji of a Wave, and You're Gonna Live Forever in Me. I picked those 3 songs on purpose. Still Feel Like Your Man is a banger. It's just a banger song. It's like a great singer-songwriter song. It's got great electric guitar playing. He calls it like neo pseudo-Japanese funk pop, like, is what he calls Still Feel Like Your Man, which is really cool. He has a song called Emoji of a Wave, which is actually like, it's literally just an emoji of a wave is how it's supposed to be, but he can't put that on a track, so he had to actually write it out. That actually has a story behind it, but it's just some of the best, most beautiful guitar playing and songwriting he's ever put out, period. So good. And then there's a song called You're Gonna Live Forever in Me, which honestly sounds like a Randy Newman song.
It does, yeah.
but it's very. I wrote it in the list. I said it's a different kind of vibe, because I didn't know how to describe it, because it doesn't feel like. It feels like it's almost like singing about death, like the end, like it's like, but like it's like a bittersweet ending, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I love it though. It's a very cool song. And by the way, he says that The Search for Everything is volume 1, so there's going to be eventually a volume 2 of The Search for Everything, and I hope he does it, because he's been kind of mocking his The Search for Everything recently, and I'm like, no, stop that. It's really good. Like, you stop making fun of that record right now.
That's my son. You do not put him down.
You do not put him down. Because he's right. Because, like, The Search for Everything, Emoji of a Wave, You're Gonna Live Forever in Me, all 3 of those songs are vastly different from each other. And that's not all. There's a song called In the Blood that's very country-esque, There's a song called Moving On and Getting Over, which is very like Continuum blues-like. There's a song called I'm trying to rack my brain with a few more of them. The theme from The Search for Everything, which is just like this crazy, like beautiful guitar song or whatever. And like, they're all different. And he's very right. It sounds like a mixtape. It sounds like but like, I like that with my ADD, ADHD. I like being like, cool, this song sounds bluesy. Cool, this song sounds country. Cool, this song sounds pop. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. Oh, I love a song called Love on the Weekend. Very much a pop song. Like, they're so different, but in my opinion, I think that's really good because it just shows his diversity. Like, that record alone shows he's just like, I can do anything. He's like, give me a genre. Like, you know what I mean? Like, John Mayer's, like, that's what just proves his musicianship is The Search for Everything in 2017. Is like, give me a genre, I'll play it. Doesn't matter. Like, and it's true. Like, he can. And then his most recent record, which came out only a few months ago, called Sob Rock. 2021, baby. Sob Rock. Another 4 years between records. But he talks about this record as if it's like a song that takes you back to the 80s. It's as if he wrote a record that is literally like, he says that this song is supposed to exist back then, but it accidentally was written now. Like he wants people to listen to it and have memories of the 80s that they didn't have. Like that's his goal with Sob Rock, which I love. I think that's a great thing. And I do love Sob Rock, I do. Though it does have one of my least favorite songs he's ever written on it, called Why You No Love Me. It's one of my least favorite songs. I love it, but musically it's a great song, but he talks about it too seriously, and I'm like, dude, you gotta know that's a joke. Like, you gotta talk about this song like it's a joke, dude. Like,
I mean, the title alone is pretty, that's like, I just see the unless emote.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Because but the music again, if you listen to the music, just the music, it's really fucking good. And but Why You No Love Me is such a dopey sounding song, and like he justifies it by saying, and to be fair, it's a cute justification that like when you want someone so badly, the English language becomes irrelevant, and it just becomes this pure feeling of like, well, you know, love me, like, you know, it's like, you know, like you don't like, and it's like, I get it, but it's stupid.
I get it, but you sound like a child.
Exactly. And like, why you don't love me? Exactly. Like, why you don't love me? Like, I get it, I do, and that's why I'm like, John, if you go into that song saying, oh, I wrote it for the memes, I love it, I'm in. Like, if you say I wrote it to be silly, it's just a silly song, I'm in. But because he's just like, no, it's about I'm like, fuck, shut up with you wrote a song called Edge of Desire 10 years ago that's way better. Like, it's about desire, way better. Stick with that. Like, but the rest of the record's great. I love Shot in the Dark. It's like it literally sounds like it belongs in a John Hughes movie. All I want is to be with you. Literally made me cry thinking about Doll Cake when it came out. Like and then there's a song called New Light that came out actually a couple of years ago. But it's just a fun like groovy 80s pop synth banger. It's super fun. And I wrote it as everyone else's favorite. But that kind of like sums up his entire like journey through the ages. You know what I mean?
And you're ready for his 2025 album?
Yeah, seriously, it's got to be another fucking 4 years. I don't know. I mean, he's touring right now on Sob Rock. And with the Grateful Dead, the Dead and Company. So, and for those who want to know, he's won 7 Grammy Awards, and those Grammys were in 2003 for Male Pop Vocal Performance for Your Body is a Wonderland, 2005 for Male Pop Vocal Performance for Daughters, 2005 for Best Song, Daughters, 2007 for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance on Waiting on the World to Change, 2007 Pop Vocal Album Continuum. So Continuum won Album of the Year, which I'm like very happy about. 2009, he won a Grammy for Solo Rock Vocal Performance in a song called Say. We didn't actually talk about that, but we can talk about that. And then in 2009, once again, Best Male Pop Vocal Performance for the song Gravity. Gravity wants to bring me down. That one. So he was won 7. And the song Say, for those who want to know, was a song he wrote for the movie called Bucket List, starring Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson.
I remember that movie.
Yep, he wrote the song Say for that movie. He read the script, said he cried, and then wrote that song immediately after. Years later, it was regarded that the best thing about that movie was the song "Say."
Yeah, it was an okay
like
movie.
it. I thought it was cute. I like the idea. I like the story of two old men in their final days finding new friendship. I think that's a beautiful story. It is a little on the nose and cheesy at times, for sure. But that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
And then the song's good.
You want to know a great thing about that movie, which is about two old men finding friendship and being old?
Yeah.
It's 14 years old.
And they're still
going making movies. So
thank God too, because I love both of them.
yeah, they're both fantastic actors. But it's just like, well, I guess that wasn't the end of the bucket list,
Yeah. I know. Like one of them was going to die soon. No. But that for those who want to know, 2009 he won a Grammy for "Say," which I don't know if he really gives a shit about. Like, I don't really hear him ever talk about it. Like, he just wrote the song for a movie. He doesn't really like. He said he doesn't really write movie soundtracks. But like he was like, yeah, it was a good enough movie. He thought so.
Yeah, some movie soundtracks get original pieces like that, and they're bangers. Mm-hmm. It happens.
He won a Grammy. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like. So John Mayer has again, I love his story so much because he really starts off from, again, that 1998 kid at Berklee College of Music to 2000, we'll just say like 2003 with Heavier Things through Room for Squares in 2001. Like, he was this like bright-eyed kid who just wanted to make the best music he could. And then in 2006 through 2010, he just got caught up in the tabloid shit. For 4 years, he was just like being like manipulated and played, and he was trying to be clever, but he was just failing. And like he had this fall from grace in 2010, and then enters his cocoon period where he gets cosmic karma, granuloma for a year and a half. He cannot talk, and like he has to talk with an iPad, a whiteboard, and like a notepad, basically, for a year and a half after his dumb shit. And then he kind of like blossoms into this like, no, he's the musician he's always meant to be, starting with Born and Raised. He apologizes with Born and Raised, and then after that it's just like, now let me write music to bring you home at night. You know what I mean? Like, he says he doesn't want to be the necessarily want to be the art, like the big banger artist. This is a metaphor. Like, he doesn't want to be the big banger artist that you see, but he wants to be the song you listen to as you go home. Like he's the song you listen to when you're still a little drunk and a little on cloud nine, that you listen to on the way home. You know what I mean? He wants to be that.
Yeah.
He wants to be that, like, and I'm like, that's cool. He wants to be the song you put on when you put the top down, drive down the highway to go see your girlfriend or your best friends, and you're gonna go get drinks. That's what he is now. You know what I mean? Although his concerts, though, they're just unbelievable, because he's the type of musician. He's like the kind of musician I like to think that I am. Is that, like, rather than just being like, okay, we're gonna play this. Sorry about that. I bumped my mic. We're gonna play the songs. We gotta play the songs the way they are on the record. He's not like that. He's like, hey, let's have fun. Every time he has a live show, he's just like, let's have like, he uses his songs as playgrounds, basically. He's like, oh, we want to do a cool guitar thing here, we want to do a cool bass thing here, want to do a drum thing here, want to make this 4-minute song a 10-minute song by extending this. Let's do that. Like it's just, his concerts are wild, and they're always long. He always plays like 20 songs too. He's just like, he just keeps pumping them out. He gives you your money's worth. This has become an advertisement to go see him in concert. Like,
yeah, and funny you say that, because right now, if you click our link below to go to ticket, I'm joking.
Yeah, you can win tickets right now.
We're not sponsored.
You can go see John Mayer with me. I wish. That'd be awesome.
Maybe one day.
Go buy my tickets. Somebody buy me tickets to see John Mayer. I'll kiss you.
Your prize can be to go with me.
Yeah, with me.
You have to buy the tickets, but you can go with me.
Yeah, I remember when he played Who Says live at the concert I went to. I started crying on the spot. I just started losing, and it was great because I didn't know he was going to play it. He pulled some bullshit. Who Says was played on an acoustic guitar, and he transitioned from one song into Who Says, and I wasn't ready for it. Because he was like, I forget what song it was. I wish I could remember it so I could like really lay it out for you guys to like listen to, but I can't remember it. But I just remember there being like, I think it might have been even like Queen of California or something. Or is that how he opened the show? No, he didn't open with Queen of California. But anyway, I remember him playing like it might have been Queen of California into it, but he was on the electric guitar. So he had his electric guitar, and I was like, oh, what is he going to transition to? It's maybe something like Waiting on the World to Change or something. But then all of a sudden, like he just hit when he hit the first line. Who says I can't get stoned? I just tears. I just like there it was again. Tears. I was just a mess. I was just like, why? And to this day, like that song is my favorite song of all time because I can listen to that song, and if I actually decide to sit down and listen to that song, I can get very, very emotional because there's a line in it. He jokes and says the entire song would have been a joke if it wasn't for the lyric. It's been a long time since 22. When he wrote that line, he put his pen down and he just took a huge deep breath and he was just kind of like, Jesus, like because he wrote that when he was like 32, right before his fall from grace. He wrote "Who Says," which I find very poetic, by the way. Like, is that like he wrote this song that's about profound growth, and it's something that he didn't understand yet until he made a huge mistake, and then Who Says made so like he said later on in an interview he wrote songs on records that he didn't understand until now, and like he's like Who Says is one of those songs. Like he's like I wrote a song Who Says, and he's like, and it was about things that I didn't understand until I'm older, and I love that. It's like a song that like as you get older becomes more relevant. It's like it's crazy how that works. And it's true, as I get older, now I can say it's been a long time since 22, so it's like,
yeah,
but in like I myself have come a long way, like that's so, like whether the folks at home listening to this live or listening to this later on, I like if you don't want to actually listen to any of the songs that I posted, that's all fine. I understand any of the songs that I suggested here. I understand, but just think if you're over the age of 22, how long has it been? Like how many years and where have you been since then? And you don't have to pick a number like 22. Pick an arbitrary number. 22 is an arbitrary number. Pick 18. Pick whatever. Pick an age and just think just back to that one age and think of in between. And that's what and I'm just like, damn, it just gets me. So, but that's all I have really to say about the Mayor Man himself. Thank you guys for listening. I mean, he's such an influential guy for me. And I never want to meet him. I never want to meet John Mayer because I am profoundly scared that I'm either going to disappoint him or he's going to disappoint me. So I'm like, I'd rather just never meet the guy. I have only one exception to this. If he wants to meet me, which I can't ever imagine why he would. I'm like, I think that's like my safety. Like, I'm so like, that's my, cause like, I don't want to be rude. Like if somebody wants to meet me, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like I'm nice.
Yeah, that's one day it's gonna catch up to you, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, John Mayer wants to talk to you." Oh fuck!
I whoever's with me, whoever's with me is going to have an experience of a lifetime. They're gonna see me have every emotion I've had since I got into him when I was like 16 years old, 17 years old. Like I got into him around when I was 17. Yeah, it was about that time. I was 17. Which is also one of my most pinnacle years in Pat lore. It was 17, so very convenient.
Yeah, I'm working on that episode right now. So
yeah, the Pat lore will be a crazy one. Oh man, but yeah. So I never want to meet him. Oh no, even if like I saw him and I was just like, "Hi, big fan," I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, "Nah," because he might turn to me and say one word to me that I hate. And I'll be like, that's it. There's like a scene in My Hero Academia where a character who's normally known as brutish and rude is actually really polite, and somebody gets mad at him. They're like, why weren't you mean? Why weren't you snarky to me? He's like, oh, I don't know. I was trying to be nice. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, it's like that. It's like, I don't want him to... Because to be honest, what I imagine he would say is, thank you very much. Because he's very thankful. He probably nod his head a lot. He'd be like, thank you so much. And shake my hand.
Perfect time for your voice to go robot-y, and no one knows what you think he's ever... No one will ever know what you think he's going to say.
Oh, no. Did it affect my audio,
yeah.
too?
Oh, probably not, because I'm pretty sure it's just Discord, and you're having like a little connection burp, and that's what happens in Discord.
I hope so, because sometimes it's the mic, too. And I can tell, because there's a certain way that the audio wave looks. And I'm like, uh-oh. Oh, yeah. No, it was this, too. Yeah, it's my mic in general. I think I have I heard it, yeah. I think honestly, this mic's pretty old. I could probably use a new one soon. But anyway, hopefully my audio, I could probably fix a little bit of it in post. Maybe I can re-record what I said.
Edit it in post, yeah.
I can edit it in post.
Edit it in post. Take out all my lines. I didn't deserve to be here. I don't know anything about music. You're talking about like Frank Ocean. I'm like, I know that name. Couldn't name a single song, but I know that name. I heard that before in the world.
But anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope you guys at least give the Mayor Man a shot. Again, I think the worst thing about his reputation is that people don't really know about his actual cosmic karma coming full story and him keeping his promise after he made his mistakes. You know what I mean? Like he was a man of his word after he made a bad mistake, and if that's what he's going to be remembered for, I really hope not, because his music is so much more transcendent than, like, I have a feeling after that man dies, it's going to be like a Van Gogh effect where people are going to discover, like, his B-sides and be like, oh, we slept on this. We fucked up. Like, like there's a few artists I feel like that. Not just John Mayer. I feel like there's a couple artists that people are really going to go, oh my God, this was amazing and we barely listened to it. You know? Like, because that's how music works, baby. What is old is new again, and so forth. But thank you again, Atlas, for listening to this rant of mine. I'm actually gonna start my own little music stream going. I'm just gonna play. I'm actually gonna keep it tonight. This was part of the music stream for me, so I'm just gonna sing some songs, I think, of my own to take us off in my own stream soon.
Are you maybe gonna sing a cover of a song called "Who Says" by John Mayer?
I don't know the whole thing.
Oh, I thought you've played that before.
I only know the verses. I don't know the chorus guitar part. But once, or the bridge. But once I do, I can. The chorus is a little more difficult, so I'll get around to it. Though. But,
well,
anyway,
yeah, that was episode 5 of the Lore Lords podcast here at twitch.tv/Atlas669.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Have a good one.